We went back to Kalos in Pokemon's latest installment, and I decided to do a hardcore Nuzlocke with Kalos Pokemon only. Why Kalos Pokemon, you ask? Well, did you know that this little fletchling and Terapagos have something in common? Because fun fact number 1 is that the only 2 times a Master Ball has ever failed has been with Terapagos and this little fletchling. So with such great power stemming from a Kalosmon, why not do a hardcore Nuzlocke to demonstrate the region's true power? We'll be following these rules on screen, where I can't use any items during battle besides hold items, can't overlevel past the next promotion match's ace, I must come up with one fun fact each and every battle, and most importantly, if a Pokemon faints, they're gone forever. So the playthrough truly begins after the long drawn out tutorial that fails to tell you that this circle in the upper left is an actual clock. I'm ashamed to admit that I played roughly 60 hours before noticing this, but anyways, our first fight is against Tawny. And fun fact number 2 is that Tawny and Urbane are the first rival to use both of the starters you didn't choose in any given Pokemon game, which means that they are the first rival to have both starters that are weak and strong to yours, and in this particular playthrough, I just so happened to pick Froakie. So Tawny will be wielding Chikorita and Tepig in this run. With the type advantage against Tepig, it's not long before he goes down, mainly due to a super effective water gun, and after Tawny reveals to me that I now have the type disadvantage, I switch to my shiny Fennekin, who disappointingly needs to use 4 attacks in order to KO this little pair plant. Surely that's a good omen for this run, right? With our rival officially defeated, it's time to meet the newest professor in town, and something still isn't sitting right with me, being that Sycamore is nowhere to be found. First, an ex-Team Flare member takes the office of Sexymore, and now Hoopa is revealing all these distortions of Pokemon past level 100? Is that where they're keeping my mans? Time will tell, but after picking up our newest Fedora, how do you do? We catch wind that our first promotion match is against Zach, which means it's time for another fun fact. Fun fact number 3 is that Zach is the only promotion match opponent to not add any new Pokemon to his team for rematches in the postgame. Also the only one that didn't train his Pokemon. Was anyone else thrown off that we literally saved Lumiose City just to fight a level 10 Pidgey in the postgame? Anyways, our shiny Chespin makes quick work of the slowest poke with a couple of Vine Whips after whiffing a Bulldoze, and our shiny Tyrant is apparently modeling his game after his bigger brother, because not only do we miss several Rock Blasts, but we also use an ineffective Bulldoze for no apparent reason before taking the KO. But he does come to his senses as Zach's ace comes out and finally lands the Bulldoze that we've all been waiting for, and with one last Dragon Claw for good measure, we have completed our first promotion match and made it to rank Y. This amazing feat impresses the new detective in town, and I just gotta ask, why does she have to run like that? Get it? Why, like the word, but also why, because we just made rank Y? Tough crowd, but the real question is, why are we celebrating with croissant curry? Not sure, but we're on our way to do the only 3 mandatory side quests of the game, and isn't it crazy that you are required to get a Pokemon with a base stat total of 500 and capable of Mega Evolution so early in the game? Too bad they're not a Kalos Pokemon, because we need to go to the ZA Royale without him to earn our next promotion ticket. And in our very first match, I realized Viola from X and Y was cooking something when she tried to use Infestation Stretch, because not only does this mean we can't switch even after the battle, but we keep taking residual damage. Surely that's not going to cost me a Pokemon in the future, right? Without anything else exciting happening, we earn enough ticket points and are ready to face down Yvon to make it to rank X, which means it's time for another fun fact. I tried to come up with something about Yvon and Viv Eon because they both have Eon in their name, but I really couldn't think of anything. So besides my obvious speech impediment, fun fact number 4 is that this is the only major trainer battle that takes place over water in any Pokemon game. And yes, I need to say trainer because the Totem Araquanid is definitely over water. But anyways, we use Fennekin as they're my only resistance to fairy types, and with the held Eviolite item, we're able to withstand both of Yvonne's fairies and take the KOs while staying relatively healthy. But now Vivian comes out, and not wanting her to use any infestation shenanigans, I switch to a fully healthy Tyrant as she sets up a pointless light screen to boost her special defense, which does absolutely nothing as she takes a bunch of rocks to the face. We're feeling good and, dare I say, ecstatic about our new rank, which means it's time for some extra evolutions. We evolve our starter trio into the middle, what is that? And meet Naveen in the courtyard. Fun fact number 5 is that Naveen keeps his Pokemon in Premier Balls, and in fact, every major trainer you face in the game, even non-major trainers, house their Pokemon in specific Pokeballs. Pretty cool touch if you ask me. And anyways, Breakson and Tyrant make quick work of his team, not sure how he expects to take on Rogue Mega Evolutions with a team like this. So it's off we go back into the ZA Royale in order to earn our next promotion match ticket. And in the process of doing so, we evolve our Master Ball breaking Fletchling into Fletchinder, who now gets the useful fire typing. Nothing else eventful happens, which means it's time to take on our favorite jackwagon Xavi. And yes, I did intentionally call him a jackwagon because of fun fact number 6. He is the only promotion match battle where he belittles you before the battle begins, which is big talk for someone who still needs to use a booster seat. But breaks in is able to take out both his Venipede and Kadabra with a few Shadow Balls and Side Beams, which leaves his Roselia to instantly go down to a Mystical Fire. But the one Pokemon who is a bit threatening is his Furfrou because of a 472 base stat total this early in the game, and the fact that they're behind Reflect to bolster their physical defense. But little does Xavi know, my main man Quilladin has Brick Break to remove that screen entirely and is free to take the KO with the Horn Leech. Oh, now you want to compliment me? Well, it's too late for that, Xavi, because I'm too busy stuffing my face in croissant curry and celebrating my newly earned W ranking. This means we're able to progress in the story a little bit more and take on our next rival Lita, and it's time for fun fact number 7. By now you've probably heard that Lita's older brother might be Tierno, since they share many similar traits such as a strong interest in dance and a similar hairstyle, but I guess this fact is more of an opinion, and just know I'll share more information on this rumor later in the story when we battle her again. And I hope you enjoyed my little Quilladin bashing her face in with a series of fighting and grass type moves. Crazy that we're this far into the game and her ace is still a Staryu, and Game Freak thought it was appropriate to have a Starmie as an ace for the second gym in Kanto. But I guess she was just the appetizer for this round, because after a quick night in the ZA Royale to earn another promotion ticket, it's time to take on Rintaro and another fun fact. Fun fact number 8 does bug me quite a bit because the last 3 battles were against a trainer whose name matched their ranking, and now we get Rintaro when it could have easily been William. But apparently that's only for his name in English, Japanese, and Chinese, as every other language doesn't have this pattern interruption yet. And I guess we can let it slide since his occupation is a waiter, which starts with the letter W. And I bet he has probably the most hated team in Pokemon, as most people I've talked to don't like the elemental monkeys, and his team consists of all 3 of them. Pretty cool concept to break the tradition of gym leaders specializing in a single type, but they're no match for all 3 of my starters, as we show these monkeys why nobody likes them in the first place. Apologies to any elemental monkey fans out there, I just haven't met any of you yet. And with the completion of this battle and the earned ranking V, this means rogue Mega Evolutions are a part of the main story, and I have a fun fact for each of those as well. For example, fun fact number 9 is about Absol's Pokedex entry and how their location in many of the games back it up. Their Sapphire Dex entry states that they have the ability to foretell the coming of natural disasters. In that game, they're found on Route 120, which is shortly before the blue and red orb was stolen from Mount Pyre. In Sinnoh, they're found on Route 213, which is close to Lake Valor, which was drained by Team Galactic. In Black and White, they're found in the Giant Chasm, which is where Team Plasma takes their stand. In the Alola games, they're found in Tapu Village, which was destroyed years earlier by Tapu Bulu, and now in Legends ZA, they are the first of 16 Rogue Mega Evolution battles. Coincidence? I think not. But we're able to take them down without a single item from our bag, which wouldn't really matter anyway since Lucario isn't a Kalosmon, but whatever. We still did it according to plan. And I guess Tawny must be jealous of this because she forces us to put Absol in our party in order to progress with the main story. And this is not the only time she'll be jealous in this run. And without preparation, Tawny's team is quite stacked, being the only team in franchise history consisting of 2 middle starters and a Mega Evolution who literally just evolved. Oh, and that was fun fact number 10. And at least we did come prepared. Kind of. Because we started the fight by switching to Breaks In on a fighting type move I didn't know they had, and then we completely whipped a Side Beam, which led us to getting lower in health than I'd like. But good thing Frogadier is here to save his fiery friend. Absol did take down Bayleaf, who I'm just now realizing shouldn't have happened since they're not a Gen 6 Pokemon, but I think we would have been fine anyways, even though it did take a total of 3 Pokemon to defeat her Manectric. I was underleveled going against a Mega Evolution with a base stat total of 575. Give me a break. It's a new day, and Eevee finally likes me enough to evolve into Sylveon, so that's exactly what I do, and I get my first fairy type of the run. I should have named her Aunt May from my Kalos only Nuzlocke recently, and shout out to those of you who know what I'm talking about. But soon after this, we meet up with Vinnie, who I'm a bit disappointed brings back the naming scheme now. The pattern's already broken. I'm not sure why we decide now is the time to go back, but he is also our next battle in the ZA Royale. And fun fact number 11 will be revealed a bit later to avoid any spoilers, but I just want you to really hone in on the fact that his rank is 3 question marks. And while earning the promotion ticket in ZA Royale, I bring you fun fact number 12, which is these cards here that say land hits with a specific type because they can be accomplished with a single multi-hit move like Water Shuriken, Rock Blast, Pin Missile, and even Bullet Seed. So now that we've got our challenger's ticket due to illegal Water Shurikens, we go back to Baneri Man and challenge him to a duel. This is the exact battle I realized moves like Fire Spin, Whirlpool, and Sand Tomb were much better than they were in the mainline games and inspired this video on screen. Totally worth a watch if you haven't seen it. But the combination of Tyrant and Quilladin is just too much for his Houndoom and Sharpedo. But why have such a scary team and then a little Buniri? I don't know, and against this Mega Drampa, who is currently the only Gen 7 Pokemon in the game for fun fact number 13, as well as the fact that they have the highest special attack of any normal type Pokemon at 160, I use Aunt May to completely counter him. Because even with all that special attack, he literally can't do anything to me after setting up a useless safeguard. I mean, the worst worst he can do is paralyze me with Glare, which is a completely useless status in this game, and use Icy Wind, which we can graciously heal back with a Draining Kiss, and it's not long before we defeat Vinnie and earn our next promotion. Remember the rank question mark I told you about earlier? Well, Vinnie's rank in the game's code is displayed as rank G, which is probably why we move all the way to rank F after this fight. Which, side note, I was a bit disappointed by at first because I really did want to climb through all 26 ranks. But that disappointment quickly disappears because we're tasked with fighting these Rogue Mega Evolutions that are terrorizing the city. The first fight is against the Rogue Mega Slowbro, and it appears that he's trapped in his shell. And it kind of makes me feel bad to see them trapped in their own shell because it reminds me of how I felt at my old desk. But thanks to today's sponsor, FlexiSpot, I was finally able to upgrade to a workspace that lets me sit or stand whenever I want. If you're an OG of my channel, you might know that fitness is a huge part of my life, and I even used to compete competitively in CrossFit. But now that a lot of my day is spent editing and recording, I'm sitting way longer than I should. And if you've ever sat through a long editing session, then you're all too familiar with a stiff back, achy joints, and that Slowbro Jobro posture.
What are you looking at?
But thanks to FlexiSpot and their E6 standing desk, I no longer have to compromise my fitness, and I can stand as much as I'd like when I'm working. It has 4 memory settings, and number 1 is my go-to position to keep the blood moving and the ideas flowing. Like seriously, have you ever noticed the difference of working while standing or working while sitting? It's a big reason why I've been able to go from 1 long form video a month to 1 long form video a week. Setting number 2 is my sitting height, and being able to adjust my desk to ensure I'm always looking up at my monitor has really helped me out more than any old posture corrector. This old sitting desk only had 1 setting, and I was a bit too excited to get rid of it. This desk is also 55 by 28 inches or 1.4 by 0.7 meters for all my metric system people, which equates to a ton more desk space and my main man Vinnie. There's also 7 different wood finishes that hopefully tickle your fancy, but I thought the all black was just too clean to pass up. The adjustment height ranges from 24 to 50 inches or 0.6 to 1.3 meters, so you can customize a height specifically for you. And since this is an honest review, I was skeptical about the desk claiming to be able to hold 330 pounds or 150 kg, but as you can see, this desk has no problem raising even while I'm sitting on it, and I weigh 85 kilograms. I mean 185 pounds. What's happening to me? There was a bit of assembly to set up the desk in the first place, but coming from somebody who doesn't really know their way around a power drill, I was able to figure out all on my own in just about an hour. Or because my wife is handier than me. Marry up, kids. But thanks again to FlexiSpot for sponsoring this video, and let's get back to the video. And fun fact number 14 is for Mega Slowbro, and it's that his evolution parallels Cloyster more than you might think. You might already know that a Slowpoke evolves when a Shelter bites their tail, and somehow Shelter becomes this thing. But when the shell fully envelops Slowbro as Mega Evolution, which somewhat resembles Cloyster, they are both tied for the highest defenses of all water-type Pokemon. And I don't think that's just a coincidence. And I probably shouldn't have used a physical attacker here, but I was unaware of this fact at the time. And fun fact number 15 is about Malamar, who still evolves by putting your Switch upside down in this game. But I couldn't figure out how to do that while my capture card was plugged in and docked, but maybe I just had to use my Joy-Cons? I don't know. But we are able to finish this fight without anything going wrong through a combination of some super effective Dark-type moves and returning Malamar back to their Pokemon during those Cyclones in order to stay healthy. The next Rogue Mega is Mega Camerupt, and with our level cap being 2 levels shy of a Mega Greninja, we had to settle for a Frogadier Malamar combo. The idea was to use Frogadier to deal quad effective water damage to build the Mega Evolution meter, and then Mega Evolve with Malamar to make the most use of our meter, since through my testing, plus moves don't seem to be worth it unless a Mega Evolution is using it. And fun fact number 16 is about Camerupt and Sharpedo. You might know that they're counterparts, being that Camerupt is a dual-type ace for Team Magma Leader Maxie, and Sharpedo is a dual-type ace for Team Aqua Leader Archie. But did you know that all 3 of their evolution lines share the same base stat total? Numel and Carvanha at 305, Sharpedo and Camerupt at 460, and their Mega Evolutions at 560. Yep, my mind was blown too, but not nearly as much when I found out fun fact number 17, because despite Victreebel gaining over 240 pounds or 110 kilograms, their speed is the only stat unchanged, meaning that even though it looks like they swallowed 17 of their own trainers, they will sadly not be a viable Trick Room sweeper. Sad day. Almost as sad as when I found out Hawlucha is getting a Mega. No, don't get me wrong, I love the Mega Evolution, but I wish this was a regular evolution because number 1, it looks cool and so does its shiny form, but number 2, these base stats from regular Hawlucha aren't good enough for a fully evolved Pokemon. Their fun fact will come later during their Rogue Mega battle, but this is the first time I've taken out a Rogue Mega with just 1 Mega Evolution meter. Mega Hawlucha goes so hard. And it seems as though we've gained some attention because 10% Zygarde form follows us all the way back to the hotel to battle us at our doorstep. But it's his unlucky day because Frogadier ends up getting the freeze, making this fight a piece of cake. More fun facts will be revealed about them later, but fun fact number 18 is that they currently have the most unique forms of any singular Pokemon. And no, I'm not including all of the forms of Arceus or Savali because I don't consider it unique as their base stat total doesn't change. Same with with my precious Yvon. But back to the goal of reaching rank A. Our own teammate Yvon is gatekeeping Canari's location, so we need to beat him down just like we did a few moments ago. Kinda pathetic that all he did was evolve a Spinarak into Ariados for this fight and expected to win, but fun fact number 19 is that there's a belief Yvon may have descended from royalty. The reason is the name Yvon is the name of the prince and princess of the frog, and his name in almost every language is a play on purity and innocence. Remember that for later because I will fertilize this leech seed I planted for later. But for now, it's time to earn our challenger's ticket, and remember how I was raving about multi-hit moves in the ZA Royale? One thing I learned this go around is that they are not a good move to ambush opposing trainers with, as they'll only take damage from the first hit to begin the battle, which is often a pathetic amount of damage. And isn't this that dude we're about to see when we answer Canari's questions for the gym challenge? Anyways, the last thing we need to do to prepare for Canari is evolve our 3 starters into their final form, plus the almighty Fletchinger into Talonflame, which admittedly is terrible for an electric type leader coming up, and I haven't been using them nearly as much as I'd like. But for now, we just meet up with Yvon outside of Team Dynamo's hideout, and that's totally the guy I said earlier, right? They look identical. Skipping that pathetic fight with him allows us to meet Tarragon and Racine Construction, and admittedly, I dislike fun fact number 20 very much. So we all know that the hologram is Tarragon, right? But it's interesting he poses as his granddaughter and he supposedly does it for the miners, but which miner is he talking about? Let that one sink in as we take him on and Mega Evolve our shiny Chestnut to pulverize this meatball for what he does. And side note, I think Chestnut is the best Mega Evolution of all time, but I hate that he puts this little club thing away. Just keep it out. And fun fact number 21 is that Chestnut has the highest defense of any starter Pokemon excluding Mega Evolutions, and their Mega has the highest defense of any starter Mega. And fun fact number 22 is about Mega Excadrill, who is the only Pokemon who can learn more than one OHKO move, being Fissure and Horn Drill. Can't wait to see how someone makes use of that in the future. After beating the creepy old man, we're on to Canari, and probably the most unfortunate thing is about to happen, and I'll foreshadow it by telling you fun fact number 23. It's about how Diancie is a mutated Carbink, but how they're not a strict evolution to Carbink is just beyond me. But despite this Pokedex entry, there is still no legitimate way to turn any Carbink into Diancie. And just so everybody knows, and to defend myself a little bit more, Diancie becomes much less tanky upon Mega Evolution, and although they're able to take down Heliolisk quite easily, I completely forgot about this fact. They also have one of the lowest HP stats I've ever seen, so with all these reasons combined, along with the fact that Charge boosts the power of the next electric type move used, and this stupid little Stunfisk uses a plus discharge, my first death of the run just so happens to be a shiny mythical Mega Evolution. And you can tell I was quite shocked by this. Get it? Shocked? But battles wait for nobody in this game, and without any time to grieve, I send out Chestnut to clean up the mess. Stunfisk is now my most hated Pokemon for that. I had such big plans for her, but through some well-timed spiky shields, we're able to take out Canari and her Mega Electros, who fun fact number 24, despite having Pokedex entries stating that they use their fangs to shock its prey, they were unable to learn Thunder Fang until Generation 9. But with this win, we've now made it to rank E, which means even more celebratory croissant curry. Can't imagine this is a thing the more I look at it, but I will say I'm quite curious. I even let my Tyrant and Binacle try some, and they just so happen to evolve into their final forms after devouring it. Excellent! And side note, how did Tyrantrum not get a Mega Evolution? I also pick up a shiny Honedge and evolve them into shiny Doublade, and finally into Aegislash, who is responsible for fun fact number 25 because they are terrible in this game. They literally take forever to go to Blade and Shield form, and I have this hunch it's going to cost me dearly at some point. Can't wait to find out. But it is Barbaracle who I use against this next battle against the Rogue Mega Beedrill, who I will reveal a fun fact later in their battle. But just know that I was extremely unhappy to get poisoned during this fight, because not only does this spell death if I keep using Barbaracle without the ability to use any healing items, but this also means nobody else can Mega Evolve unless I want to kill them off, and I'd rather not take another death right now. Fun fact number 26 is for Mega Beedrill, and they are one of only 2 Mega Pokemon to have either of their attack stats lowered upon Mega Evolving. We'll get to the other one later, but Beedrill's special attack gets lowered by 30 points. Not that they're a special attacker anyways, but this turns their stats into the most min-max distribution I've ever seen. And through this battle, Delphox is able to withstand the onslaught of attacks without Mega Evolution or Poison, and we avoid any casualties. And then between battles, I decide to evolve my Bergmite into Avalugg, and through the power of friendship, is what I'm calling it, we're able to transform our Colossian Avalugg into their Hisuian variant, who I thought would make a good counter to the Rogue Mega Hawlucha, but I quickly realized that they are quad weak to fighting, and this may not have been my brightest idea. So instead, I send in Talonflame to get some much needed action in order to build up our Mega Evolution meter, and when the time is right, we unleash shiny Mega Delphox to the world, and I'll start with their fun fact first. Fun fact number 27 is that both Delphox and Ninetales share the fact that they are fox Pokemon, and both of them are featured in Ghost of Yotei, being that the Kitsune, a magical fox that Delphox is modeled after, is the leader of the Ninetales clan. If you know, you know, know, and if you don't, play Ghost of Yote because it's really good. But I also promised you fun fact number 28 about Hawlucha, and it is that they are the only Pokemon that are part of both the human-like and flying egg groups. So this means they can breed with the likes of Machamp, Hitmonchan, and even Mr. Mime, as well as Pokemon like Pidgeot, Aerodactyl, and Decidueye. Not really sure how that one works, but this is quite the debut for Mega Delphox because this is the second time I've been able to complete a Rogue Mega Evolution battle with just a single Mega Evolution. Two of the Kalos starters are really putting in work, so hopefully Greninja does the same. Against the Rogue Mega Banette, I decide to stick with my strategy of using a non-Mega Pokemon to build up the Mega Evolution meter, so I use Tyrantrum with the held Shell Bell to stay healthy and deal some major damage. And while that's going on, it's time for fun fact number 29. Mega Banette not only has the highest attack of any Ghost-type Pokemon at 165, but they are also the lightest Mega Evolution, weighing in at just 28 pounds or 13 kilograms. And now that the Mega Evolution meter is full, it is time to unleash Shiny Mega Greninja into the world. Although they look quite cool and got quite the stat buff, they disappoint me because we're not able to take down Mega Banette in just one cycle. But I do feel partly responsible because I know I made a few errors targeting the wrong Banette a few times. And fun fact number 30 plus a few more is going to be about Greninja. I mean, where to begin? They have the only unique form that is not a Gigantamax, Mega Evolution, or regional variant in Ash Greninja. They were voted most popular Pokemon in Pokemon of the Year poll in 2020, and they consistently died on me the first time I played through X and Y because of the sheer number of fighting types in that game along with their terrible bulk. And I hate to say it, but I think they're my least favorite Kalos starter, and Tyrantrum should have gotten a Mega instead. Okay, I'll stop mentioning that, but thank goodness he's able to take Banette down for me. And let's just shift our focus to another disappointment really quick. This fun fact was going to be saved until we reach Grizel as we approach rank 8, but I can't stop talking about disappointments right now. So we evolve our Litleo into Pyroar, who has the useful normal typing against our upcoming opponent, but fun fact number 31 and also disappointment number 31 is that female Pyroar looks the exact same as male Pyroar after Mega Evolving. Maybe that's a good thing for everyone else, but it was a disappointment for me. So now that we're heading down to the sewers, because of course I'm down in the dumps, just riddle me this for a second. If Ivor was a Pokemon, what move would this be to punch down a wall? Mega Punch or Dynamic Punch? Because I'm sure confused in how he did it, and apparently so was Klefki. But our journey brings us to Gwynn now, where we finally get the payoff of Pyroar's seemingly bad normal typing. And yes, I switched back to the male one because why bother if they're just going to look the same after Mega Evolving? She basically can't hurt us since all of her stab moves either deal no damage or resisted damage, and knockoff can't knock off our Mega Stone. So with the first two Pokemon going down quite easily, we're able to bring Greninja out to give him a proper Mega Evolution transformation. Fun fact number 32 is that we talked about the Ghost type with the highest physical attack, but Mega Chandelure has the highest special attack of any Ghost type at 175. And I'm not going to say this is an official fun fact, but plus Water Shuriken inside and outside Mega Evolution is simply just one big Water Shuriken, while the other multi-hit moves do not follow suit. And with the battle won and the sewer mystery solved, it's time to take on our 6th promotion match against Ivor. My favorite tip for battling in a playthrough and in the ZA Royale is a strategy I meant to execute here, but for some reason slipped my mind. I usually like to Mega Evolve as early as possible with my designated Mega and then switch to other Pokemon, since using moves refills the Mega Evolution meter. This allows you to send out your Mega Evolve Pokemon without going through the animation, and sometimes it feels like a cheat code for permanent Mega Evolution. And through the power of my Psychic Fox and my Fairy Fox, Ivor doesn't seem to stand a chance. Although I will admit I thought Phalanx was always programmed to use no retreat instead of attacking here, and we got much closer to losing my Delphox than I'd like. Just a quick note that this will be a recurring theme. And fun fact number 33 is that Phalanx is the only Gen 8 Pokemon with a Mega, and I'm salty that they got their signature move no retreat programmed into this game, but moves like Drain Punch and Body Press didn't make the cut. But we get to rank D, which means we get to go celebrate with even more croissant curry. Dandy. And this double helping of curry marks the spot where we finally meet the Rust Syndicate, who I originally thought were going to be the bad guys of this game. Yeah, that video didn't age well, but we first need to battle Corbeau's henchman Philippe. Philippe has quite the scary team with some excellent coverage on some of the most terrifying steel types. Like, even though Chestnut has the type advantage, we still lose half our health before finishing off Steelix. And then a rogue Solar Beam against Scizor for who knows what reason almost cost me my Delphox again. See what I mean about Delphox almost losing their life several times in this playthrough? But just wait for it, because it gets worse. But Skarmory is probably the scariest with a base stat total like this, and fun fact number 34 is that their Mega Evolution is a callback to their origin game Gold and Silver. I know some of you are shocked realizing they debuted in Gen 2 and not Gen 3, but Gold and Silver is a nice look on them. And our most expendable fire type is able to take them out, meaning we are still deathless at this point, besides the Diancie blunder that I'm still bitter about. I mean, just one battle? But we have to keep moving because dwelling on it is only going to hurt us more, and Diancie would want us to keep moving. We get our assignments from the Rust Syndicate to take on a new trio of rogue Mega Evolutions, and the first of the three is Mega Mawile. We start the fight with Delphox since we resist their stabs of Fairy and Steel, which reminds me of fun fact number 35. Before the Fairy type was a thing, Mawile was the first pure steel type to be introduced, even though the steel type debuted a generation earlier. They are also one of 3 Pokemon in Legends ZA to gain more than 100 base stat points when Mega Evolving. They gain 142 stat points to make up for their ability Huge Power, which usually doubles their attack stat. But since abilities aren't a thing in this game, Game Freak gave an additional 42 stat points in their attack. One of the others is Medicham for a similar reason, and the third will be revealed later on in the video. But in this fight, we use Delphox to do as much damage as possible, and I really wish I would have changed my moveset a bit since 3 of my 4 attacks deal resisted damage. But in spite of my error, we are able to get them down quite low and use our other expendable fire type to finish off the battle because Delphox's health gets a bit too low for my liking and I have no way to heal them up. So after the battle, we cruise on over to the next Rogue Mega Evolution and decide that Chestnut is the perfect candidate for the job. Admittedly, Chestnut's grass typing is a tad less effective, being that Barbaracle goes from the rock water type to the rock fighting type after Mega Evolving, which means they go from taking quad effective damage from grass type moves to just super effective damage. Chestnut's still able to power his way through this fight, but fun fact number 36 is that Mega Barbaracle is one of 4 Pokemon to change typings upon Mega Evolving, but Barbaracle is the only one to not be a flying type. And just a quick note, I'm talking about changing type, not losing or gaining a type, but one of the types completely changing. And the other 3 Pokemon are Charizard, Gyarados, and Altaria. But we are able to get through the fight quite easily, especially since Chestnut has the very real move in Horn Leech to restore HP throughout the fight. And the last of the 3 Rogue Megas is Mega Ampharos. And yes, you are looking at your screen correctly, that is a shiny Zygarde, and I guess it's time to address the Copperajah in the room. You may have noticed a few mods in the playthrough, and the reasoning is basically for content, and because these Rogue Mega Evolution battles aren't that difficult, and I really wanted to see how much Nihil Light would do in this fight. And I'll be giving 2 fun facts for this battle. Fun fact number 37 is that Mega Zygarde is the only Mega Evolution who has to meet a certain requirement in order to Mega Evolve, meaning they need to first be at half health before changing forms, which allows us to make use of their Mega Stone. This is probably a good thing because they have the highest special attack of any Pokemon and the only Mega Evolution to gain 70 points and not 100. Probably a good thing as well since they technically gain 178 points between 50% form and Mega Evolution. And fun fact number 38 is about Ampharos because even though their tail is literally always glowing and they're known for lighting the lighthouse in the Johto games, they still can't learn the move Tail Glow. Anyways, Nihil Light is pretty much like the delete button here, and we're able to take this Fabio Dragon down quite easily because of it, and it's time to make our way to the Rust Syndicate to take on our next promotion match opponent. Fun fact number 39 is that Corbeau in French means raven or crow, and although this next part isn't a fact, I do notice that this little design on his jacket reminds me of Pheasantipity, who is also a raven or crow, I suppose, and he does seem to have a resemblance towards Carmine and Kieran. Very interesting. Also the only character in any Pokemon game to make a human Scolipede. More fun facts about that later. But for this fight, the plan was to sweep with Delphox, so the first step is to protect against Arbok's Toxic so we don't deal with the poison for the entire battle, and wouldn't you know it, we get poisoned on the very first possible opportunity. This means we need to switch up our game plan a little bit since poison does way too much residual damage for my liking, and also because Delphox is weak to Gyarados. So we send in our Hisui and Avluck to take care of him, who will be available to help everybody in this battle once Pokemon Home gets the update. Roserade makes their way into the battle next, and I decide Delphox is able to finish them off, and oh my goodness, I am so glad I protected against the Shadow Ball because look how low Delphox's health gets from Sludge Bomb. This is like the 3rd time that he's knocking on Death's Door, and trust me, it's not going to be the last. We send in Hawlucha to finish off the battle because they resist or are immune to 3 of the 4 attacks Mega Scolipede has. Which brings me to fun fact number 40. Scolipede and Centiskorch are said to have beef with each other in their Pokedex entries, which is quite odd being that their locations are very different in the Galar region, which leads me to believe that since one of them got a Mega Evolution, then so too will the other. Time will tell, but it's not really much of a rivalry if one of them is completely wailing on the other one as a Mega Evolution. And yes, I know Centiskorch has the type advantage, but now that we're rank C, I can see that the next 2 battles of this run are going to be against my rivals. Which, side note, I feel like is a waste of time because why doesn't she have a Starmie yet? But anyways, remember my fun fact on how I think she's related to a different character? I happen to think she's related to Deirdre from Paldea for a couple of reasons. They are both seen with psychic types in Starmie and Medicham. They share a striking resemblance, and I don't think neither of them can cook. It's clear that Deirdre can't cook if you did the teacher side quest, and I know Lita doesn't necessarily cook in this game, but if Tawny is the cook even after making this horrendous croissant curry, that tells me she's the best cook in the group, and Lita's cooking skills are probably worse. But anyways, we're able to beat her team quite easily, and I'm just hoping Naveen poses a bit more of a challenge. And do you remember the royalty theory for Naveen I mentioned? Well, in this fight he adds a Crocodile and eventually adds an Aegislash to his team, but let's check out their Dex entry. Apparently it can detect the innate qualities of leadership. According to legend, whoever it recognizes is destined to rule. I'm just saying that there are way too many coincidences for this to not be true, but since it's just a coincidence, it's not being labeled as a fun fact. And his team is just as easy if not easier to take down, being that 3 of the 4 of them have a crippling weakness to Fairy. And now that those 2 minor inconveniences have been dealt with, we can carry hurry on our way. Our next task is to take on yet another trio of rogue Mega Evolutions, and this time we're going to be starting with Mega Altaria. I decide that Mega Dragalge is probably the best counter for this Dragon Fairy type, so after evolving our little Skrelp into their final form, we decide to play a little fast and loose because I don't really have any other options. Which brings us to fun fact number 41. Mega Altaria is the only Pokemon with the Dragon Fairy typing and is the only Mega Evolution to not share any of its types with its first evolution. Some people might know this concept as the Ship of Theseus because as you keep adding types as Altaria evolves, you continuously strip away their past self until there's nothing original left. I may have gotten that somewhat wrong, but you get the idea. This is also the fight I realized that Dragalge can fly, or float, I guess, since we finished them off with a floating sludge wave. And after struggling to climb the rooftops of Kalos and find this Mega Froslass, we finally run into them, and I believe the best candidate for the job is Pyroar since they're supposed to be immune to ghost type moves with their normal typing. I say supposed to be because somehow all these rogue Megas are strong enough to hit through immunities. And again, I wish I changed my moveset so I didn't have the ineffective Hyper Voice for this fight, but that's just how the cookie crumbles. So it's time for fun fact 42, which is that there is no other Pokemon that shares Frostlass's Ghost Eyes typing. And with their Mega Evolution, this completes the second pair of branch evolutions with the Mega, the other one being Mega Gallade and Mega Gardevoir. Unsure if this is going to happen, but this just leaves Slowking and Politoed needing Megas to complete the branch Mega Evolutions. And despite my terrible moveset choices and Froslass threatening with Sheer Cold a couple of times, we're still able to complete the battle without any problems. The last member of this trio of rogue Mega Evolutions is probably my favorite Kanto starter, Venusaur. And I feel completely justified for this opinion because fun fact number 43 is that Venusaur is also Ken Sugimori's favorite Pokemon as well, although it is his least favorite Pokemon to draw due to their complex design. Probably why Venusaur is the only Kanto starter that has their Mega Stone locked until this point of the story because both Mega Charizards and Mega Blastoise are available much earlier via the Stone Emporium. But Delphox is the perfect candidate for the job to take them down because both Stabs and Psychic and Fire are super effective against Venusaur and we managed to not get poisoned this time. This brings us to what I think is the scariest trainer in the game. I say this because not only does she have a terrifying team consisting of 4 of the scariest dragons, but I also did not realize you couldn't change up your team once this cutscene began. So now my party consists of 3 fire types and 2 more Pokemon that are weak to ground, dragons, or both. But it is what it is, so let's let the death march begin. Delphox is able to pick up the KO on Noivern, but not before they get dangerously low on health again. This brings out Tyrantrum, which is an immediate no-no for me, so I switch to Talonflame thinking they'll come in on an Earthquake. That proves to not be the case, so I send in my friend Malamar, who gets hit with the onslaught of Rock Slide and Earthquake back-to-back before failing to get the KO and ultimately going down to a crunch. I just wasn't prepared and my play is showing it. But we have to move on, and I feel safe enough to bring in Avalugg to finish off the T-Rex, but now an even bigger problem in Garchomp makes their, or I guess not since they go down to an Ice Fang as they get greedy with the Swords Dance. But now her Dragalge comes out to Mega Evolve and I think they're going to go for a Hydro Pump, so I make the switch to my Dragalge on an incoming Dragon Pulse. My prediction game just isn't that strong today, and I was planning to go for Mega Evolution on one of her attacks to be immune to it, but your boy is too flustered and makes yet another misplay and Mega Evolves on nothing. Not wanting to sacrifice my Dragalge, I make the tough call to send in Pyroar as I do have a total of 3 fire types and letting go of one of them right now is probably the right call, especially since normal is the least beneficial secondary typing for the rest of the game. They are able to do just enough damage that the tag team duo of Talonflame and Avalugg are able to get the KO, but that was a massacre. Thank you for your service, Pyroar and Malamar. I'm sorry my play sucked. And I guess there's no better time than now for fun fact number 44, but Dragalge is the only poison type to be introduced in Generation 6, the same generation that introduced the new fairy type. Interesting. Hopefully that fun fact allows us some brownie points and Jacintha's tournament goes a little bit better. We've already faced the majority of these trainers, so I'm just going to summarize what happened unless something significant happens. Against Canari and her electric types, I go to Mega Chestnut again, who's able to take them all out relatively easily with some monstrous defense stats and well-timed spiky shields. Against Ivor, I lean on my fighting type killers in Sylveon and Delphox, but I make a brutal error and allow Mega Phalanx to set up a no retreat absolutely for free, which leads to yet another close call for Delphox. And there was another moveset error because I thought I had Protect instead of Fire Blast, but at least we go unpunished. For now, that is. Because against Corbeau and his poison types, I prove why Aegislash is trash in this game as they take too long to switch into Blade form, and when they finally reach it, their defenses are hot garbage. I would be upset if this was any other Pokemon game, but I have no time to dwell on it because this also leads to the death of Sylveon. For some reason, I think it's best to switch into my precious Ant Mage made to try and withstand the attacks, which means that this stupid Gyarados took 2 lives in a single battle. And then of course Delphox just has to get poisoned and almost die again before I can send out shiny Mega Hawlucha, who can finish off the battle against his pesky Scolipede. We just doubled our death count in a single battle and lost access to any other fairy type for the remainder of the game. But life gets better, right? Can't you see we're in the middle of something right now? So I send out my shiny Zygarde because I think this is a pretty funny mirror match, and when I can finally Mega Evolve after losing half my HP, I press the delete button of Nihil Light to get rid of them once and for all. And just a quick spoiler alert here, this will be the last KO my Zygarde takes this run, but not the last time I use them. More on that later. After some legitimate prep and taking time to ensure we won't lose yet another Mon to a careless mistake in this horrific tournament, we take on Jacinthe, who happens to have my favorite soundtrack. She uses luxury balls and is probably the most self-centered NPC in Pokemon, because not only does she give herself a free ride in her own tournament, but she also gives the only side quest which involves battling her 4 times in a row with the same exact team. She should have caught that Chespin battling with the car that makes you battle him 5 times before joining you. Yeah, that was fun fact number 45, and the good news is that the majority of the fight with Jacinthe goes off without a hitch, although it does get a little dicey against Gardevoir. But thank goodness I still have 2 poison moves on Dragalge's moveset, because even though she protects on the first one, the second one is probably more than enough to take the KO. Which I didn't realize that if you're not using a plus move, it is only 70% of the move's power, and it's not until you use the plus button that the move becomes 100% of its power. The more you know, and good thing all attacks used by Megas are plus moves. And now that we're rank B, you know that we be celebrating with Croissant Curry, you feel me? And that also leads us to be fighting the last trio of Rogue Mega Evolutions. But back to fun facts and the Rogue Mega Evolution battle against Dragonite. Fun fact number 46, remember the Mega Beedrill fact that they were one of 2 Pokemon to lose stats in their base attack when Mega Evolving? Well, Beedrill loses points in their special attack stat, but Dragonite is the only one to lose points in their attack stat, with 10 points being lost, and gains a whopping 45 points in their special attack, turning them from a physical attacker to a special attacker. I really hope they get some type of signature move and that the rest of the pseudo legendaries get a Mega at some point, especially since Baxcalibur is getting one in the DLC. But we try to use the strategy of sending out Avalugg first to fill up the Mega Evolution meter, and then send out Delphox to use 2 fairy moves to make the most of our Mega Evolution meter. But I feel like I don't even have to tell you what happens at this point, because of course Delphox gets down too low in health and I have to switch back to Avalugg to finish the fight. And in due time our bulky friend gets the job done, which means it's time for our second pseudo legendary, Tyranitar. We decide to use Mega Chestnut for this, which in my opinion is my favorite Mega Evolution of the 3 Kalos starters. Let me know your favorite if you've made it this far into the video. And fun fact number 47 is that Tyranitar is another unique type combination, meaning that they are the only rock dark type Pokemon in the game right now, and they have the highest attack stat of all rock and or dark type Pokemon. Tyranitar's fight seems to be a bit more challenging from the trainer standpoint, since I need to dodge these precipice blade looking things, but I find withdrawing Pokemon in times like this makes it easier to stay healthy. And on only 1 Mega Evolution meter, Mega Chestnut is able to take the KO and remain almost completely healthy during the fight. Benefits of using quad effective moves, I guess. This leads us running towards the Rogue Mega Starmie, and we just so happen to run into Philippe on the way over, and for some reason this fight is much easier than the first, and I know I speak for all of us when I say that we're surprised to see Delphox finishing this fight at full health. Go Delphox! We start the fight against Starmie with Greninja, since they're able to resist both of their stabs, and I even make the risky decision to keep him in even though he falls to 88 HP. But to build the suspense a little more, I'll tell you about fun fact number 48, which is that Starmie is the 3rd Pokemon I've talked about, along with Mawile and Medicham, to gain more than 100 base stat points when Mega Evolving in Legends ZA. This probably means they're getting the ability Pure Power as well, but time will tell. Kinda disappointing since they're more of a special attacker, but I guess it makes sense due to the way that they look. But what doesn't make sense is how is it that they grow 3 feet or 1.2 meters, but their weight stays the same? I don't know either, but when Greninja gets too low, I have his grass type counterpart come in, who can surprisingly take the KO even though they're weak to Psychic. Nice job, Chessie. Defeating all of the Rogue Mega Evolution battles now requires us to do a couple of extra battles until we're able to earn rank A. The first of which is against Emma, which I originally thought would have a Mega Ampharos for an ace, being that fun fact number 49 is that both of them do the Naruto run. But since she leads with him, we have the privilege of starting this fight off by dodging a Thunder. We're then able to take the KO, and by using Brick Break we can get rid of the light screen that was set up and take the second KO of the fight against her Mawile. And against her sexy bunny, I'm able to use a satisfying spiking shield to prevent her from getting an attack boost and do a little bit of chip damage that I'm sure didn't really matter at all before taking the 3rd KO of the fight. Her Lucario makes me want to send in Delphox, as I know Chestnut doesn't have the greatest special defense, and I'm even able to keep my Fox safe against an Aurasphere with another timely protect. After taking this KO with a Psy Strike, I try and game plan and figure out what I want to use against my friend Malamar, because although their stats are still very unimpressive for a Mega Evolution, they nearly KO my Fox for like the 8th time this run. But going unpunished again allows me to bring out Greninja, who can Mega Evolve on an inopportune moment. Like seriously, I'm wondering why I didn't Mega Evolve to dodge an attack at this point. Maybe it's the fact that this is my first streamed Nuzlocke? I don't know. But this does prove to be costly because although Malamar only has resisted attacks, a critical hit brings me down to just 37 HP. And even though Malamar is deep into the yellow, it still takes Barbaracle multiple attacks to take this thing down once and for all. I'm upset I lost mine a while back and I wasn't able to experience their true power because they were kind of a hassle to deal with. But once Emma goes down, she gives us a hint that the mysterious rank 8 trainer is known by Grizel and Grisham, which means it's time to battle Grizel right outside the old Lysander Cafe. I already told you about the disappointing fact of female Mega Pyroar, so let's just hope we don't get any more deaths in this fight. Oh, and I did turn Greninja into a physical attacker from this point forward because I personally like physical moves more since they don't have to go to a certain spot on the field and they typically take less time to launch. He takes down Talonflame quite easily and puts up a valiant effort against Aerodactyl, but I decide there's another water type who's more expendable and have Barbaracle finish the job. I thought it was odd she sent in Camerupt next since we quad resist fire and they're quad weak to water, but decided to play a bit more careful and thought I'd be sending Hawlucha in on an Earthquake, but she instead goes for the quad resisted Lava Plume? Why? But from here we're able to land some attacks, dodge a Rock Slide, and take care of them 1v1, but I know that definitely won't be the case with Metagross. So I send in Delphox since they only know one move that's super effective against us, but it's like the story is writing itself at this point because Delphox once again almost dies. In a panic, I send in Tyrantrum, who I originally wanted to be fully healthy against the Mega Pyroar, and although we're able to take the KO, we have to do it after taking an Ice Punch, leaving us below 50%. There's literally nothing else I can do as she Mega Evolves her Ace, so I just rip a Stone Edge hoping she goes for a random move, and she does. She uses the completely useless Snarl. And then I'm able to send in Chestnut on a resisted Earth Power and finally make use of the Mega Evolution iframe to dodge an incoming Flamethrower that probably would have KO'd if it landed. And because physical moves tend to launch faster than every special move, we're able to attack first with the Brick Break to take the KO and do this battle deathless. A little sloppy, but deathless indeed. The victory allows us to go down to the basement of Lysander Cafe, see the lab, run into Lysander himself along with his trusty Zygarde, and then it's time for us to get down to brass tacks and face off against our rank A opponent Grisham. And his team is terrifying. But first, fun fact number 50 is about promotion matches, because if there were as many gym leaders as promotion matches in this game, there would be a total of 9 gym leaders. But I guess there's no Elite Four either unless you count the 5 pairs of Rogue Mega Evolutions. Anyways, we're off to a phenomenal start as Pangoro whiffs his Protect and survives on what must be 1 HP, and then we're able to finish him off with the Horn Leech. Malamar comes in, but knowing that Hypnosis sucks, I just ignore it to get some damage off, which allows me to have just enough time to protect against his incoming Psyshock. Now they only have resisted attacks, which means that they stand no chance against my Power Whip. I get a bit cocky as Pyroar comes in and try to pull off the same technique to punish a Snarl, but little did I know how little charge time Overheat he has, and I come dangerously close to losing my Chestnut. But I go unpunished yet again and send in Avila, who can take the KO with the Stone Edge instead. Tyranitar comes in and I think we can tank at least one attack, and we do, but we barely do much in return. Not wanting to lose my physically bulky boy, I send in Barbaracle on a super effective Earthquake, and somehow Tyranitar lives a quad effective Brick Break. But they do go down soon enough, and I send in Greninja to counter a Salamence, and I was able to get the perfect Protect on an attempted Draco Meteor, which allows me to land a quad effective Ice Punch that somehow doesn't KO. This means we have to take a ton of damage before our berry in order to take this thing out. But now we're in a decent spot against his Mega Charizard X with Tyrantrum out, because at least we quad resist his fire type attacks, right? Yeah, I definitely should have equipped a Haban Berry to take less damage from a dragon attack, because we literally don't contribute anything to this battle and have to switch or I risk losing my T-Rex. Delphox comes in to try to do some damage and at least lands one attack to bring him close to 50%, but yet again we get dangerously close to going down. But ultimately, through a series of switches and admittedly poor gameplay on my end, we are able to evolve Barnacle Boy in hopes of getting a KO, but it was all for naught because we didn't do any damage due to a well-timed Protect and the iframes given by Dragon Rush. We're in a pretty rough spot as my entire team is battered at this point, but I gamble on Avalugg as Charizard comes out of Mega Evolution. First time I've ever battled someone this long to see this, and even after another well-timed Protect, we're able to stay alive just long enough to finally end the fight with a crunch. Good thing Mega Evolution isn't permanent for our opponent, otherwise we would be smoked. I'm not really in the mood to share a fun fact about Pokemon's Golden Boy right now, but fun fact number 51 is that they're one of 3 Pokemon with an X and Y Mega Evolution with the introduction of Mega Raichu in the upcoming DLC, and also the only Pokemon in the Smash Bros series to transition from a Pokeball to a playable character. And now that we've attained rank A, Tawny thinks that now now is the time to battle in front of all of her friends instead of saving the city or making me croissant curry? What kind of a friend are you? And what bugs me the most is that she says the winner of the fight will be the one to go up to Mega Floette, but even after losing, she just goes up there anyway. Which does lead me to fun fact number 52, which is that Tawny is the only rival in franchise history in which the player is not required to win against at any point to complete the game. But determined to play better and win this fight, we start this battle with our trusty Chestnut. She leads with Meowstic that I know loves to start with screens, so we start with a Brick Break to remove them, which gives us enough time to protect from the incoming Psychic. This buys us enough time before Psychic comes off cooldown to end up taking the KO before they can do any meaningful damage. Goodra comes out, and here's where things start to fall off the wheels a little bit, because although we do protect from Toxic, we should have been a bit more patient going for an attack because we leave ourselves vulnerable to a critical hit Blizzard. And then not realizing what I'm doing, I switch in Tyrantrum into a super effective Draco Meteor. Good thing he's wearing the Assault Vest and is able to take the KO with a speedy Dragon Claw combined with the chip damage from earlier. Avila comes out, and I'm hoping to switch Greninja in on an Ice move, but nope, we get to come in on a Stone Edge for massive damage instead. Although it's not all dire, because I realized besides Icicle Crash, which is fairly easy to dodge, Chestnut resists all of their moves, and this is the perfect opportunity to get some HP back with our held Shell Bell, and I know I'll need him at good health for later on in this fight. So I switch to Chestnut, get off some attacks, and with the Shell Bell we now have 4 additional HP than we did initially. Good move, John. So now probably her scariest threat, Emboar, comes in, and I give her the free opportunity to go for a bulk up while I switch into Avalugg. Another good move, John. This may look bad being that I'm quad weak to fighting, but for some reason Tawny doesn't have a single fighting type move on her pick, so we are relatively safe to stay in and tank some attacks with our massive defense stat and eventually take the KO. Manectric comes out next, so I switch into my counter Hisui and Gudra, who I totally forgot to mention we got Sliggoo out of the box, definitely waited until it actually rained and evolved them into the very real Hisui and Gudra. The only attack I'm concerned about on Manectric is Overheat, which we can easily perfectly protect on, and it lowers their special attack. So after successfully doing so, we're able to dodge Thunders and drop a Draco before the cooldown comes back. This puts us in a very good position as Meganium comes out, because even though they Mega Evolve, they turn into the Fairy type and now take super effective damage to Iron Tail. Although I do end up switching because I don't believe my Protect will be back by the time Earth Power comes off cooldown, so I switch into Delphox, who can time the Protect perfectly since Earth Power has such a long wind up time, and counter back with the Mystical Fire. One of the few battles Delphox ends in the green. I wish I could tell you that that was the end of the run, but you know as well as I do there's quite a few battles to go from here before taking down Floette, and we're not done sacrificing our team. I take a break from the stream to strategize exactly how I'm going to finish the hardest part of the game because I've come way too far to start this run over, but I was able to come up with the following strategies. Against the pair of Mega Gengar and Mega Heracross, is that blah? My main goal is to get Chestnut out there and use Leech Seed on both of them to slowly drain their health, and then use Delphox to use Will-O-Wisp on Heracross to limit his damage output. But Gengar gets in the way instead and gets burnt. This actually works out to my favor because this drained his health twice as fast, and as soon as Gengar goes down, Delphox is free to help clean up against Mega Heracross. I tried to use the same strategy against Pidgeot, Kangaskhan, and Garchomp, but by the time I burnt the Garchomp and used Chestnut to KO them, the other two Megas were already defeated. These guys are way more useful than Barry on Spear Pillar, am I right? Against Steelix and Blastoise, Chestnut was able to get Leech Seed off on both of them, which kept him at full health for the entire fight. And once the Water Turtle went down, we were able to send out Delphox to burn Steelix and cut his attack output, and I realized this was probably overkill as I think Chestnut could have KO'd without the burn, but it's better safe than sorry at this point. Against Aggron and Salamence, I decided to switch it up a little bit and burn Aggron but use Toxic on Salamence. And I did have the foresight to give Chestnut a Focus Sash to be able to come in on any move and survive long enough to land a Leech Seed. This allowed Greninja to come in relatively for free, Mega Evolve, and clean up the fight while their health was getting whittled away. The second to last fight with Gardevoir and Gallade almost got ruined when Corbeau Scolipede poisoned Gallade literally 1 second before I was about to land the burn. But I quickly find out that the only move this Gallade knows is Psybeam? I don't know, so it's not like the burn would have helped anyways. And I probably should have given Delphox his Mega Stone to optimize this fight, but we're able to take the KO on Gardevoir without any worries because we resist every attack she has. I'm considering these Rogue Mega Evolutions as one battle, so fun fact number 53 is that after Corbeau makes his human Scolipede for you, he will actually get mad if you fall off the building. He does build the ladder a total of 4 times where he gets increasingly more angry as it goes on, but by the 4th time you can't even fall off the building anymore. Anyways, it was this last fight with Mega Metagross, Alakazam, and Aerodactyl that stressed me out the most because all 3 of these Pokemon have an incredible attack stat. But I stuck to my strategy and made sure to burn the 2 physical attackers and brought in Greninja, who has a good matchup into all 3 of these Pokemon and probably had the second easiest fight against these Mega Evolutions so far. But this next part did not go so well, because for some reason I just had to make sure moves like Toxic don't work against Mega Floette. But there was just a little doubt in my mind that it might, and I needed to test it. It didn't. I also enlisted some help from Pokemon like Hoopa and Volcanion, who honestly didn't help nearly as much as you'd think. But I did this mainly because I thought this fight would be really easy with a strategy I'll show you in a moment, but also because I wanted to see what Hyperspace Hole, Hyperspace Fury, and Steam Eruption looked like, and I'm sure some of you might be curious as well. None of these moves are worth writing home about, but I did think that both of these Pokemon would be much better in this fight since, I don't know, they're mythicals? I should have learned my lesson with Diancie. But the crucial error I made in this attempt was setting out Chestnut literally for nothing during the time Zygarde told me to run towards protection, and I have to watch my own Wincon go down in a single hit. Chestnut was literally my only Pokemon I needed to bring in this fight to take down Mega Floette, and because I sacrificed him for nothing, we end up wiping one by one. We do get fairly close, but it is actually I as the trainer who went down in this battle and not my Pokemon. And because I wanted to test the strategy to see if it was even worth starting over, I immediately take another attempt at the battle. And incredibly, the Shell Bell is absolutely broken in this fight because look how much HP Chestnut recovers every time he attacks. This was also my first time using Bulk Up, and just a quick note, it makes a huge difference in damage output, and using plus Bulk Up doubles the length of the stat boosts. Almost like an alternative to Mega Evolution while holding an item. But the final fun fact of the video is fun fact number 54, which is that Floette is the only middle stage Pokemon to have a Mega Evolution. Now I know it's a unique form with separate base stat totals and technically can't evolve, but I do wonder if it opens the door for middle stage Pokemon to get Mega Evolutions. Like for example, does this mean Pokemon like Hawlucha will now never get a permanent evolution since they got a Mega? Or are we just assuming that because it hasn't happened yet? Yes, I'm hopeful for a permanent Hawlucha evolution, but the second attempt of this battle went much better, except for Mega Zygarde. I did really want to see how much damage Nihil Light did, but we didn't even get the chance to do it before they went down. Yeah, that was definitely my bad, but in my defense, it's tricky to purposely take damage to be able to Mega Evolve. I also let Vivillon come in to show off their special museum form, and they put in some work showing that the Big Root is also a very good item for this fight, especially when paired with a move like Giga Drain. She was doing an okay job, but I ultimately let Chestnut take the KO since he's been doing a lot of the heavy lifting this playthrough, and I want to show him some appreciation. And that marks not only the end of the battle, but the end of this run. Not exactly a perfect Nuzlocke by any means, since I didn't really catch my encounters or give them nicknames, but I hope you all had as much fun watching this video as I did making it. I'm so glad Mega Evolution has returned, and Legends ZA is a lot more fun than I thought it'd be. I hope they continue to evolve the combat system, because fun fact number 55 is that I haven't even touched my PlayStation since the game came out, and it's been an entire month. If you liked the video, I'd really appreciate a like, comment, hyping the video, and even subscribing to the channel if you want to see some more ZA content. But for now, stay tuned for my next video about the best moves of every type, and I'll see you all very soon. Thank you.